Hello aspirants, welcome to ARK IAS and my name is Vijay Sarathi. I am teaching anthropology since several years. I'll be dealing with my experience in the coming days. So the intention of this exercise is we should be testing our readiness for the exam that you're going to write for the anthropology optional. So what exactly are we trying to do this? What's the plan? So I'm going to deal in the 5 days, the next 5 days, 5 modules. In fact, the syllabus can be divided into several modules for our convenience. So I have divided the syllabus into 5 modules or 5 parts. One is your starting with the biological part, the second is archaeological part, then the social cultural part, then the Indian society and cultural part, and finally we have the tribal anthropology part or tribal India. So why exactly this division? As we have noted, the even the subject matter of anthropology is also divided into 4 parts. You all know that already. You have prepared to some extent. There are 4 major parts in the syllabus. That is social cultural or cultural anthropology. Cultural anthropology, Americans call it. Social culture, social anthropology is a name given by the British anthropology. So in India, we call it as social cultural. We have biological or physical anthropology. We have archaeological anthropology and linguistic anthropology. But linguistic anthropology part is very less in the syllabus. So I have put that in the social cultural part. So for this reason, we'll be taking these 5 days and I'll try to cover as much as possible. Actually, it is very short time. We can't completely do 100% justice to this. But in a very brief manner, we'll try to do some, addressing the pain points or exactly what are the strategies we can actually think of. So going further. So what are we actually doing? We will identify the probable themes or the knack of focusing on the question, the demand of the question or the theme of the question. We'll try to integrate the thinkers, what kind of the contribution these thinkers have made to the theme or concept. We'll also integrate current affairs as well as case studies and finally improve answer writing. And in all these, what we see completely is the interlinkage of the ideas. So these days, if you see the last few years, last 4, 5 years or 6 years, there has been a lot of integrated nature of the syllabus that is coming in the form of questions. The questions are no longer straight jackets or I can say straight questions, because all these years it has people can actually guess these questions regularly. Repetitive questions is a norm that to extent of almost 80 to 90% you can actually see that the questions are repeating. But the smartness lies in the smart preparation, in the sense what kind of simplistic preparation you can think of. In fact, when I cover this, when I initiate this discussion, when I go through the details, you will be slowly understanding that there is a lot of common content in the subject, which is spread in different parts. For example, I'll just give you one idea. Today I'll be dealing with biological only. I'll just give you one idea. Recently, one question was asked in 2025 about the Purum kinship, the significance of Purum kinship system. So many people naturally, as a knee-jerk reaction, first it is something like a shock to them. But even if they come out of that shock, they can only think of kinship, because in our syllabus in chapter 2.5 we have got kinship. So as far as kinship is concerned, they'll write something. But who are Purum? They are a people of Manipur, and they are a variety, or they are also a population of the Kuki people. And what is the current affairs part in it? Many people may not have realized. Kuki was in news in 2025, 2024, and the country has been shaken by the conflict, Kuki mighty conflicts. And these people used to even cross the border and meet their kin. And in anthropological sense, we are interested in that kinship bond. They're having very strong kinship bonds. So they used to muster support and encouragement from the border. And again, they used to recoup themselves. And that clearly shows how strong kinship bonds are in a tribal society, number one. And Purum people have something called as exogamy. They are organized into clans and subclans. So there is a concept called exogamy. Clan also comes in chapter 2.5 kinship, exogamy comes in 2.3. And they have extended families, they marry their cross cousins, they have a system called generalized exchange as devised by Claude Levi-Strauss. In fact, Tarak Chandra Das, T.C. Das studied Purum people in 1945. And Tarak Chandra Das happens to be the earliest teachers in Calcutta University when anthropology department was first founded in Calcutta University. So T.C. Das's work has actually attracted the attention of many other scholars. But initially, it was Claude Levi-Strauss. Then Claude Levi-Strauss's structuralism was brought into Europe, into Britain by a scholar called Rodney Needham. Rodney Needham has studied deeply the Purum kinship because he was not agreeing with other two scholars. There was a man called Richard Homans, and there is another man called David Schneider. So he had been at loggerheads with these two scholars. So regarding the clarity with the prescriptive marriage preferential systems. So a lot is there in chapter 2.3, 2.4, 2.5. Also theories part in chapter 6. And paper 2 in tribal India, these people, social organization is mentioned in a book by Tribal Cultures of India by L.P. Vidyarthi. So this demands a holistic or integrated nature of the understanding. I hope I'm clear. So how questions are become interconnected? I told you, you can find Purum kinship in chapter 6, structuralism, alliance theory, generalized exchange versus restricted exchange, in marriage and kinship, and in thought also. In the same way, we will try to bring this togetherness, or what you call this close knitting between the different chapters, and anthropological preparation will become smaller, easier for you. Okay? So I'll first start with, as I told you, with the biological part. And while going through this, what exactly we'll be touching upon? We'll be touching upon the themes. We'll be, in fact, strengthening the themes of these questions. We'll be talking about the basics of the demand of the question, how basics are very important. What about the conceptual clarity and conceptual depth, and also certain applied aspects through the current dimensions if possible. And wherever diagrams are necessary, we will invoke the diagrams. We'll talk about flow charts, we'll talk about thinkers, and of course case studies. And something like a 360 degree, we will try to cover this, because anthropology, not for that matter, any paper in your GS also demands holistic answer writing. Anthropology is a 360 degree discipline of mankind. I am sure you guys agree with me. It's a holistic and integrated systematic discipline of humans. That means we start at one point, we travel through that and end up again here. Meanwhile, traversing the entire human tapestry, the rich tapestry of human life called the anthropological viewpoint. So through this viewpoint, we need to develop this integrated understanding that should reflect in your answers. To me, who will get the maximum marks in this exam? The candidate or the aspirant who writes these holistic answers. Holistic answers means, as I told you, they should involve many points, something like a bouquet of flowers, not just one flower, but several flowers, such that the answers look fresh and versatile. And it should also reflect dynamism, not some old static stuff. Of course, we need some basics right from the 19th century thinkers, 20th century, and 21st century case studies as well. And if possible in the coming days, also I will take some inputs from you in the comment section. Please tell us in which areas you need support, and if possible, we'll be doing some more videos before you write the exam on 30th. I guess 30th is the date, right? And there is a gap of about 7 days. If possible, I'll try to add more videos to help you guys sail through this exam. And let's move forward. And in biological anthropology, as I told you, I'll start with in biological or physical anthropology, these are the chapters that are covered. right from 1.4, 1.5, 1.6. And 1.7 I consider as a link between chapter 1 and chapter 9, 10, 11, and 12. Why so? Because 1.7, if you see the syllabus, right, I'll come to 1.4 first. 1.4, human evolution, all that. 1.5, primates. 1.6, human ancestors, phylogenetic position, characteristics, and distribution of Pleistocene hominids. That is a title. 1.7, the cell, the biological basis of life. That is a title given in the syllabus. So, and ninth chapter onwards, we'll talk about human genetics, human growth and development, and demographic anthropology and applied anthropology, or applied physical anthropology should be the apt title. And what about 1.7? As I told you, it's a bridge or link between these two entities. Why? Because in through 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, the common theme, I ask many students, tell me one word, and you can also try. The answer is one single word. People who are seeing recorded, they can pause the video and answer. The common theme, the common thread that is there in entire 1.4 and 1.5 and 1.6 is evolution. In fact, it is biological evolution. And many scholars these days are not agreeing it's not just biological evolution, it's in fact biocultural evolution. So recently there was a question also, biocultural anthropology. And several case studies, several studies have been done in the recent past trying to understand this, what it means to be human. Who are we? Why are we standing on two legs? Why are we bipeds, whereas the other animals are not? If you see the animal kingdom, we are also animals basically. We started as animals. We are also today animals, but we are social animals. We are cultural animals. But basically, we are biological animals. That's the reason I am starting my discussion with biological part. If you know the biological part clearly, we'll smoothly sail over to the archaeology part. From archaeology, we'll go to social cultural. We'll touch upon language. Once we cover all these four parts, biological, social, linguistic, and archaeological, as said by the founding fathers, we'll go to paper 2, Indian Society and Culture and Tribal India. Okay, so as I told you, common thread in 1.4, 1.5, and 1.6 is evolution, and 9 to 10, entire 9.1 to 9.8, much of the discussion is in human genetics, and some topics like race. Again, race has got genetic basis. Genetic markers has got genetics. 9.7 ecological anthropology, 9.8 epidemiological anthropology also do have a good amount of genetic basis. So this you can safely call chapter 9 as genetics chapter, 9, entire chapter 9. 10 again is human growth and development. We'll try to understand as to how we should understand the growth and development paradigms in different parts of the world, whether they are belonging to the low income communities or, these days you're talking about obesity and all. We'll address the entire scale of that. And we'll also understand in chapter 11, demographics, how the concepts of fertility, fecundity through menarche and menopause, and also natality, mortality through the help of theories as well. That is chapter 11. Chapter 12, applied physical anthropology, but the title was actually given as applied anthropology, no problem. How all this knowledge gained from the physical dimensions of evolution and genetics will be helping to improvise the human condition, the human race, the welfare and development policies of governments with some science and technology. So this is the entire understanding of physical anthropologists in a nutshell. If you ask me, and I strongly recommend also to you to remember at the top of your mind, look, why do you study physical anthropology or biological anthropology? First of all, to note, to tick mark that you are a basically animal. We are a biological being. Then we got culture and society. Okay, wonderful. Then how? What exactly is how we are different from other animals? We have actually developed. We have evolved. What is evolution? It's a long drawn process. It has happened through millions of years. And how can you say evolution happened? Evolution happened this because of these evidences. We have evidences, we have theories, we have examples, we have case studies, and science believes in facts and figures. And anthropology is a science. Anthropology is a science of man. Anthropology is a social science. So that's the reason we should study evolution through the help of genetics and apply that logic to better humanity in chapter 12. So this is a broad understanding. Then I'll go take you through some. I have picked up certain questions recently, and through the last 5-6 years of questions, I'll try to get the trends and as well as try to guess. I mean, what kind of we can actually think of the question maybe slightly change, or what kind of questions we can expect. As I told you, if possible, I'll make about 3-4 videos again in the expected questions in the latter part. As I told you, when we approach after you write your GS papers, I'll share more of knowledge, deeper perspectives to go for a complete confident kind of attempts. So in 1.4, human evolution and emergence of man, you can clearly see 3 parts: 1.4a, B, and C. 1.4a talks about biological and cultural factors in human evolution. This question has come many times, and this biocultural thing is very, very important. People, as I told you just now, recently they started talking in biocultural terms, neither completely cultural nor completely biological, because there is something called as co-evolution. Many scholars, right from Darwin, said there is co-evolution. Human intelligence and understanding is not just only because of language and culture. There is something to do in the genetic level. But this fellow was not, Darwin was not sure exactly what is the mechanism of genes. That has been addressed by our Mendel later. And coming to the second part, 1.4b, we have pre-Darwinian, Darwinian, post-Darwinian theories, right? And in examiner, if you see the trends in the, I've been analyzing these question papers for the last 40 years. I have questions from last 40 years. In the, I'll ask the team to put a link in the description. I'll attach that PYQ booklet to you so that you can go through the entire gamut of questions. In fact, I put all the related areas in one heading. For example, if I'm talking about 1.4a, I'll put questions only under 1.4a. Again, if theories come here, I'll put here only. I'll not club everything, so that you can go pinpointedly, know exactly what is the kind of questioning that is happening. And 1.4c talks about synthetic theory of evolution. And these days, examiner is concentrating on this. And you might be surprised, sir, what is this lamba choda? A lot of thing is written here. It says brief outline of terms which are associated with the concepts of evolution and evolutionary biology, like Dollo's rule, Cope's rule, Gauss's rule. But to my knowledge, as I told you, I've analyzed so many years of papers. Not a single question has come. But there has, I think one question has come in adaptive radiation in primates. Not here. There is a connection here. And in the end, I'll try to link all these common threads, right? Which part is reflected in which part is connected to which part. Now, let me jump to the last 5-6 years of questions. Why, you might be asking, sir, we can do quick revision. No, quick revision, it's easy. You can also do. Quick revision is only easier only when you know the demand of the exam. As I told you just now, what is the demand of the exam? In the end, I'll summarize everything to you. So initially, it's about the last 5-6 years only. In fact, so many other questions were there before 2020, but the questions were basically easily, understandable, straight questions. Most of the questions were straight questions. But here, 2020 onwards, about, I can say, at a rough estimate, see, I'll just slow down here. How many questions you have to write? How many questions are given in paper 1? And how many questions are given in paper 2? Any idea? You can actually pause the video and answer. How many questions you have to attempt out of how many? Do you have a choice? How many questions you have to attempt in the exam? 5 questions, correct? 5 into 50, 250 marks. And how many are given actually to you? 8 questions. Out of 8, you have to write 5. And question number 1, there are 2 sections into which section A carries 4 questions, section B carries 4 questions. Section A, first question 1, number 1 is compulsory. Question number 5 in section B is compulsory. So 2 questions you have to compulsorily attempt. There is no choice there. But what about question number 2, 3, 4, and 6, 7, and 8? You can slow down the video, pause the video, or run it at slower speed, and you can understand later. Okay. And out of these 8 questions, since you have to write 5, so total number of questions will be 28. Out of this 28, you have to write in 1, 9, 19. So while you are talking about these 19 questions, right? So all these years, as I told you, more than 90%, in fact, 90 to 95% questions were straight questions before 2020. I don't know why 2020 they have made a shift. There are several reasons. Maybe like I'll throw some light at the end. I'll do some final analysis. But it is not the time to do analysis and I'll waste our time. So 2020 onwards, nearly 80 to 85% questions are straight, about 10 to 15%, or sometimes rarely 20% questions are slightly tricky questions. You can call them as tricky questions, twisted questions, some kind of quirky question. There are so many verbs, synonymous words. So what is the idea of the examiner? Examiner would like you to apply your mind and analyze and link and think originally and prepare according to the changing dynamics of the society, because every year number of aspirants and people applying for the exam are increasing. It is increasing, and how to filter it down? Anyhow, prelims is there, they will filter a maximum number of people, and prelims is called your screening test. By the way, what is the UPSC slogan? Keep the rascals out. It looks like slightly odd. Who are these rascals? In fact, rascals is not a bad word. Rascals means, in general traditional English language, British English language, rascal means some kind of non-serious candidate. So here, civil servants are required to be original, spontaneous, balanced. They should have a balance of mind. Psychologically, they should be like slightly mature enough. They should have that, patience. So many qualities are tested through this exam, even though UPSC has never said that. Even that is reflecting in the questions. Every year, they are like, as I told you, about 4 to 5 questions they are posing like that, to make the check whether the candidate is going off balance or not. See, if you have seen 2025 paper, you must have noticed one thing. People who have attempted 2025, they got this about 5 to 6 questions who are something like, they look like out of the syllabus. They have never heard about, keratic culture. They might have talked, wondering what is this culture and embodiment, smell as a signal to the non-human primates, David Barker and hypothesis of the prenatal concept of diseases, and so many kind of questions. This, kya ho raha hai? So what exactly is wrong? How many years I should prepare? This kind of thought process kicks in, and psychologically people are off. And if the person loses patience, he'll be like paying heavily, because in the second half, in the second paper, 90% plus questions were straight. They were like cakewalk questions. Whatever you remember in the class, whatever you heard in the class, or simply revised, you could have easily delivered. Happily, you must have come out of the exam hall. ठीक है, paper 1 तो गया है, लेकिन paper 2 अच्छा किया मैं. So this kind of a thinking is also there in the exam. So don't come to any knee-jerk reactions. There are questions, there is bound to be 5 to 6 questions, or at least out of those 28, as I told you just now, about 23 to 23. Maximum number is 20 questions will be straight. Those 3 to 8 questions, you may expect some kind of, something like a bouncer or a googly. So अभी ये इसके ऊपर ध्यान मत देना. अब जो भी आता है 20 questions or whatever you read in an organized manner, keep your temperament alive. So going further, why I have done all these 6 years? Because the questions, some of the questions you will see slightly are like that. The first question I'll just quickly spend 2-3 minutes, not much on each question, because we have to travel a good deal. What is the exact? I have developed an approach. You can type my name in the Google, you'll get what approach I am known for in the student community. I have developed a beautiful approach. Of course, I'm been inspired by Google. That's called keyword approach. What is the keyword in the question? What is the keyword in the sentence I'm reading? What are the keywords in the paragraph I'm reading? What is the usual preparation we do, usual reading we do? We just go like this. We are in a hurry. We want to complete. क्या कर रहे हैं? Complete कर दिया. मैंने politics complete कर दिया. मैंने anthropology complete कर दिया. 6 महीने में, oh, done. Then what are we doing since the last 30 years? Still we find it's an ocean of knowledge. Nobody completes anything, my dear. Just मतलब ये ठान के रखो. One thing I want to tell you, if you have focus on that, something like Arjuna's viewpoint, focus on this and tell me what is the keyword here. First question, synergistic effect. And by the way, in these last 5-6 years, as I already told you, or even earlier also, 1 or 2 questions, one word you will not be understanding easily. This one such word is synergy. In fact, the keyword here is synergy. What is synergy? Any idea? I'll just write here. I want to actually write something here. What is synergy? Later I'll talk about all that in detail. Going hand in hand, wonderful. And synergy means working together. Actually, 1 plus 1 is more than 2. Synergy is such a beautiful word, right? 1 plus 1 is more than 2. I just want to change the color. Not sure. Yeah. 1 plus 1 is more than. Oh, it's not changing. I just, go take a fresh page if you want. So idea is 1 plus 1 is more than 2. That means individually biological factors definitely have contributed to human evolution. What are the biological factors you should actually be thinking? You should be, the moment you see the question, biological factors from top to down, easy. Yahan se, just like poets describe a woman from top to bottom, head to toe or head to tail. So brain size expansion, then jaw size reduction, so many, teeth size modification, foramen magnum coming into the middle of the, skull, S-shaped spinal cord, and even modifications in the pelvis, modifications in the femur and feet. Simple yaad rakho, I'm not going to teach class here. And if you are seeing this entire thing, what is actually contributing to bipedalism? I'm just showing this. Earlier, our ancestors were quadrupeds, and now we have assumed bipedalism and erect posture. And scientists get, like, as I told you, in many of my introductory classes, I ask people, I have already asked you, have you ever seen another animal walking on 2 legs? Anthropologists are those kinds of people who ask these kinds of fundamental questions no other discipline fellows ask. Sociologists, no, they don't ask. Neither management fellows ask, no mathematics, not even medical doctors. There, if you go to the doctor or low back pain, he'll treat low back pain. He will not say, are you biped for, have you tried quadrupedalism? Nobody talks. Correct? Usko koi interest nahi hai. Like, who are these fellows who are after bipedalism? And recently there was another question, the gains and losses of erect posture. What are the gains? We could actually stand erect. We could see, predators and prey at a distance. We can actually run and we can escape from the predators by running. We have prehensility of the forearms or forelimbs. What is prehensility? Hands became free, and hands became free from locomotion. We can carry objects, we can get food. That's the reason marriage has come. I link that where in my classes, how hands freeing and marriage has started in the humankind. So many biological factors. In isolation, this human evolution is inexplicable. We should have remained like chimpanzees and gorillas. But in humans, cultural evolution also started taking shape. In fact, once the biological factors started taking shape, after a few millions of years or lakhs of years, cultural factors came in. Again, biological factors, cultural factors, something like co-evolution happened. Important scholars like Darwin. I'm just giving in a nutshell. I'm not writing anything on the board. You can slow down and watch. If you put that running, scrolling thing, text, then you can note down later. Darwin initially has started, already I told you this discussion. There was a man called William Durham. He spoke about coevolution. There is another man called David L. Hull. There is a man called Richard Ingram. And Richard Wrangham talked about cooking hypothesis. How cooking has actually helped humans evolve culturally, facilitating the absorption of the nutrients better, thus kick-starting further brain expansion. Brain expansion has not happened in other animals like our close cousins, chimpanzees and gorillas. If you see their brain size, what is the brain size of chimpanzees and gorillas? About 500 cc at the most. But our brain size has become 3 times their brain size. What is the reason? Because it was not just owing to only jaw size reduction. Why jaw size reduced in the first place? There is only this much space. Something like your father says, I have only one flat and this is legacy I'm giving to you. You are preparing for IAS and you says, Papa, mera room bahut chota ho gaya. I want a bigger room. He says, Beta, I cannot afford. I will cut the hall and give a bigger space to you. I cannot buy another house. I cannot encroach upon the neighbor's property. In the something like a crude example I've given, in human evolution, the same thing happened. You cannot actually expand this just like that. It looks very odd. First, jaw size has to get reduced, facilitating the expansion of the brain. That happened with the processing of food. Cooking has developed. Richard Wrangham has given this cooking hypothesis, and so many other factors will explain that. And genetic mechanisms of micro and macro evolution. So many scholars, again, starting with Hardy and Weinberg. You remember Hardy and Weinberg in chapter 9.3? Who are these people? Hardy was a British mathematician. Weinberg is a German physician. Both have independently arrived at an equilibrium, saying that gene frequencies will remain constant as long as, this question was also asked in another year. Gene frequencies will keep constant. They will not change from one generation to the other generation when there is a equilibrium. What do you mean by equilibrium? The operating forces, the forces of nature, natural selection, then the mutation, then genetic drift, gene flow, isolation, all these are not working. So that means microevolution happens at the gene level. You don't know. Today, you can ask, sir, am I evolving? Are we evolving? Answer, bolo. Have we just stopped evolving? Because we have evolved a long back. So we have said goodbye to evolution. No, it doesn't happen, my dear. We are evolving inside. What is that called as? Microevolution. We will arrive, maybe we'll become after 1 lakh years or 2 lakh years or 5 lakh years, we'll become another species. At the macro level, there is macroevolution. When species and genera start, genera means genus ka, what you call plural. Genus is singular, genera is plural. When genera get added, from genera, separate genuses will, one genus like that. From one genus, several species. So the tree of life goes on expanding. The tree of life, which originated as a single unicellular organism 3.5 billion years ago on this planet, has reached to the highest level of Homo sapiens today. So that is your macroevolution. In the macroevolution, you see only the phenotype. In the micro level, you only see the genotype. There is another scholar called Kimura. In this, Kimura talked about neutral mutations. You can ask, there are several mutations, because mutations also are very important. You can actually come up with comments and doubts. Some in this fast kind of a flow, you may not understand what exactly the grasp I'm trying to say. 2-3 dimensions are involved. I just talked about Hardy and Weinberg. They said if natural selection and all these do not operate, evolution does not happen. But what on the contrary is happening? Can you ask natural selection to relax? No, it will continue to work. Can you ask mutation to take a break? No, it will not take a break. Genetic drift, isolation, gene flow, hybridization, no force will stop. So evolution is happening. At which level it is happening? Micro level. Where it is operating? Genotype. So at the genotype level, Kimura has also spoke about 3 types of mutations. In that, he specifically said about neutral mutations. In this entire evolutionary journey, the most number of mutations that happen are neutral mutations. There will be positive mutations, there will be negative mutations. Negative mutations, they come closely to genetic load, something like a necessary evil. Positive mutations help in the evolution of the organism. It will try to help the organism adapt to new niches. For example, if the climate is changing, it is becoming hotter. Positive mutations will help that. For example, in Africa, now applying to humans, in Africa, why black color skin has developed, why their hair is frizzly and woolly, because they have adapted to hot climates, which facilitated positive mutations. What about certain negative mutations? All these chromosomal aberrations that you have in 9.4. Some are neutral. They will not impact the genotype nor the phenotype. So neutral mutations, according to Kimura, have actually slowed down our evolution. Though micro level it is happening, that's the reason species will not evolve just like that. In next 1,000 years, it will not happen. It can happen in our COVID virus, COVID-19. Within few weeks, this fellow will develop another species. But it's the lowest level of organism. But higher organisms like we, right, through sexual reproduction, we reproduce. So it will take millions or lakhs of years for us to evolve into a new species. So that's the reason evolution you have to understand very strongly, such that you can write brilliant answers. So many thinkers have contributed to this. So if you know these kinds of theories and ideas, you can write extraordinary answers. Elucidate how Darwin and post-Darwinian theories of evolution resulted in the development of synthetic theory of evolution. It's very simple. What do you write here? What's the color it is appearing? Actually, it's appearing green. No, just I'm new to this board. Please excuse me. I'm trying to take this, and same color is coming actually. So I'll take a fresh page here. Sorry. Just call them, no? Just give me a second. So no problem. I'll just take this blackboard only. So all these ideas have come in the recent times, and we also talked about the gene, and there were certain ideas like coevolution, and we spoke about this one. And the next topic that has come is in the primates. In the primates, recently there was a question: smell as a signal to the, in the non-human primates, how smell has become a signal. And if you have seen in primates, there are 2 parts. In primates, there are two broad group of animals. Any ideas? One is prosimians, the other are anthropoids. And anthropoids and prosimians are the two groups. In that, evolution has happened in such a way that long back, because when the earth was a Pangea, you will learn that also in geography. When earth was a Pangea, later it started moving out because of the geological forces and plate tectonics. And during that time, certain animals started branching off. So one group of animals have become prosimians, the other group have become anthropoids. These prosimians, if you cut the word using my keyword approach, pro means earliest, simians means monkeys, something like earliest monkeys. They are not monkeys actually, but earliest mammals, earliest primates, and those actually are lemurs, lorises, galagos, bush babies, and indris, ayais. Basically, the most common animal that you see in the geographical channel, National Geographic channel, is your lemur. There is a very typical behavior among the lemur. During the mating season, two males fight, like you also see in the nature. When two males are fighting, they have some kind of a scent in their tail. So that scent they will throw, and that fellow goes and it beats the other lemur with its tail. And immediately the other male is incited to, let's fight, come, let's fight, let us prove who is better. And once who wins this competition will win over the female. So scent is very important. It's not just for only sexual thing, but also to you know smell the food items and the territory, marking the territory, just like you might have observed in the dogs, how they mark, how they can come and sense. If you touch a dog's nose, you can see clearly. Once a dog comes and, oh, aake sunta hai aapko, it starts smelling you, you can find some kind of wetness. That's called rhinarium. The part here in the near the nose is called rhinarium. That rhinarium is actually wet. This rhinarium is wet and it helps some animal to use its olfactory senses to the maximum. What is olfaction? Smell. But as the evolution progressed, as I told you, when the primates started becoming anthropoids, their sense of smell has come down. Sense of smell has been replaced by, or rather completely dominated by, the sense of vision. That's the reason the highest evolved animals that we are in this anthropoid groups, we are diurnal animals. So our vision has developed, our vision has become color vision, stereoscopic vision, 3D vision, and vision has developed extraordinarily in the higher level of primates than in the lower level of primates like the prosimians. So smell is very important for them. So that it's also signal to mark the territory, sexual thing, as well as your food. So many questions like this are coming, which look like they're actually slightly out of this thing. But if you read the basic books like Ember and Ember or Scoop In, you can easily answer that. And many questions have come on the skeletal modifications and erect posture, bipedalism. I've already spoken about on that. Just give me a second. I'll just take the help from our friends. Why don't you just ring them up, and you have the number with them? Yeah. I'm absolutely sorry, guys. Just bear with us for a minute. Meanwhile, you can pose your questions. I'm free to answer that. Any kind of, anyone writing the mains this year? And which area is actually tougher for you? Whether it is physical or biological, theories part or social, cultural, or archaeology, and as Indian society and culture, tribal. I don't think Indian society and culture and tribal India are that much tougher because there are concepts are very less there. Yeah. So meanwhile, you can also pose some questions. Any idea, any queries you have? Any particular area, any particular query you have for this? Towards? Up to notes. Yeah, in general about this exam. Or any particular part or any particular theory or whatever. How to interconnect case studies? Yeah, a good question. For example, you have talked about cooking hypothesis, right? It can be applicable. I'll tell you one second. ఇది ఇందాక స్లైడ్ ఉండాలి కదండి earlier there was one. ఇట్లా వచ్చింది ఇది ఇందాక ట్రై చేస్తుంటే గ్రీన్లోనే వస్తాం. వైట్ కలర్ సరిగా రావట్లేదు. సో అది అక్కడి నుంచి కొంచెం ఇబ్బంది వచ్చింది. మీరు కొంచెం వెనక్కి వెళ్ళి ఆ స్లైడ్స్ ఉన్నాయి కదా అది పెట్టండి. నేను పెట్టిన పీపీటీ.
చేస్తాను.
ఓకే, బ్రిలియంట్. చాలు. Oh my God, thank you. So I was just having this effect. I'll refrain from using the board. So क्या करता हूँ मैं, I'll just give you whenever a thinker comes or anything, I'll just slow down and explain it to you. So as I've covered these two areas, right? Now the third one, Darwinian and post-Darwinian theories of evolution. So why we are focusing only 6 years? You can also ask, sir, is this enough? Will these same questions come? But there are chances, yes, but they may not be very straight. It has happened back to back. For example, in biological and cultural factors, their same question as repeated in 15 and 16 or 16 and 17. Same question, word to word. Biological and cultural factors in human evolution 2016. Biological factors and cultural factors in human evolution 17. Back to back bhi aa sakta hai. And in 2025, they have asked about postmodernism. And 2024 also they have asked postmodernism. In 2025 short notes, they have asked about multi-species critical ethnography. Yes, multicultural critical ethnography, that is also one dimension of postmodernism. And like that, and in nutritional anthropology, 2 questions have come in 2025. You'll be surprised. From the same chapter, 2 questions. Even in 2024, it has happened. In the same chapter, 2 questions can come. Same question back to back, it can be asked, or it can be slightly twisted and asked. And not to miss, as I told you, in the other half, as I told you, after you write the GS papers, whatever the questions that were asked before 2020, I'll dig them out and again try to guess some important areas. We'll try to cover maximum in this 4 or 5 days so that you can have a good deal of understanding as to how to deal these questions. So इसीलिए I'm again giving the disclaimer. For the time being, we'll only discuss this last 5-6 years questions. And coming to this question, post this, what exactly is this synthetic theory? What is the keyword here? Now imagine you are in the exam hall. Jaldi se jaldi batana hai. What is the keyword in this? So the moment you see the question, don't jump and try writing whatever you know. It's absolutely like it will backfire. I'm telling you. I've written 3 mains, back-to-back mains. So I have some idea. That's the reason I'm telling you. What is synthetic in this theory, synthetic theory? You know what is synthetic means? Artificial, no? Is it artificial? Oh, Darwin said natural selection. This is artificial selection? Absolutely no. You have to know the core concept, as I told you. The core concept is synthesis of Darwinian and Mendelian ideas with some ideas of mutationism by Hugo de Vries. कौन है ये बंदा? Hugo de Vries. I'll talk about him later. But who is Mendel? You all know, father of genetics. And Darwin has reached extraordinary heights in biological anthropology. He is even one British scholar, R.R. Marett, called, if you want to, you can write the definition. R.R. Marett gave a definition of anthropology. You know what he said? Anthropology is the child of Darwin. Like, you'll be surprised. What kind of a quotation or statement is this, or definition? Is it really a definition? Yes, my dear. Anthropology is a child of Darwin because after the publication of The Origin of Species in 1859, anthropology has taken off, and many people, paleoanthropologists, started making beelines to Africa and Asia to hunt for the missing link between humans and the apes, because Darwin said we have evolved from apes. Okay? So Darwin plus Mendel was doing parallel research in Europe. He has come up with Mendel's laws, but he has died. And after the death of Mendel, only in 1900, Mendel's laws were rediscovered rather. Darwinian, because Darwin, as I told you earlier, never knew how these genes are transmitted from one generation to the next. What is the mechanism of inheritance? Darwin was clueless. Darwin was only interested in variation. Variation, जो बोलते हैं ना हम लोग, this phenotype. For example, I have a brown skin color. Our friend has white skin color. Another man has golden skin color. What is this thing? This is called phenotype. And Darwin could not give the reasons how this phenotype comes. He says, definitely there is a variation. On variation, natural selection operates. It will come and pick up the best adapted individual. The least adapted individual will be left. That is fine. People agreed. Many neo-Darwinists emerged in 20th century. H.D. Kettlewell, Simpson, then Wallace, Alfred Wallace, Dobzhansky, you name anyone, R.A. Fisher, Ernst Mayr, G.L. Stebbins, many of these are all neo-Darwinists. And many of them have done research based on Darwinism. They have mixed Mendel's laws plus mutationism. Earlier, Hugo de Vries, a Dutch botanist, used to clamor for himself that, look, my theory is superior than Darwin's theory. But so these synthetic theories have disproved him and gave mutationism very lesser role in evolution. So synthetic theory is nothing but synthesis of. Synthesis means linking and mixing and combining. Combining of Darwin's ideas plus Mendel's ideas with a salt, something like a pinch of salt called mutationism. And many other factors also they have taken into account. Genetic drift, gene flow. What are all this? I'll explain in my master classes. So why I call my classes master classes, you will very soon you will discover why these are called master classes, not ordinary classes. There are many factors in evolution: genetic drift, gene flow, hybridization and isolation, and so many other factors. So these factors also were taken into account by the synthetic theorists to explain the course of evolution, the complete picture which could not have been given by Darwin. This is the answer for this question. So you need to know the concept as well as thinkers as well as case study. If you want to write a case study, one case study you have, that is H.D. Kettlewell has studied the Biston betullaria. Anybody knows this Biston betullaria? He called that mechanism as industrial melanism. See, all these terms I'm saying, all these scholars, case studies, concepts is not to frighten you. Please come out of that rut. Don't allow your mind to go into this domain. Sorry, मेरे को ये नहीं मालूम है. I don't know what I have done. God, I'm cursed. ये सब मत करो. Even I am telling you, after the nearly 28 years and nearly all these years of experience, still every day I discover something. Okay. So it's not that you cannot, but as far as the exam is demanding, like to that extent, you know the basics. 4-5 point आपको लिखना है minimum बस. And you need to just put some good diagrams and examples. You will be getting 60% marks. I'm guaranteeing that. Okay, so this is your Darwin and the H.D. Kettlewell's Biston betullaria. Black colored pepper moth, white colored pepper moth. You know that example. That is example of natural selection. Darwin's finches in the Galapagos Islands. He himself has seen that variation. Finches, big sizes, small, slender, medium, thick, big sized Galapagos finches. All these are examples of these ideas. You can expect so many questions. It can be twisted. In one of my test series, I put this question. Human evolution is a compendium of biological and cultural factors. It can come like this. Or it can say, cultural factors have accelerated biological evolution of man. Discuss. Is human evolution a co-evolution? Discuss. See, I've already talked all this. William Durham, you can write. David H. Hull, you have noted those scholars' names. William Durham, David Hull, as well as Richard Wrangham, Wrangham, Richard Wrangham, David Hull, Hull, and William Durham, Durham, William Durham. So if you write 3-4 scholars' names and put a diagram, what is this? How do you draw this? You put a cycle and simply this color is not changing. This is actually the problem. It has fixed to green. So sorry for this. आपको ये understand कर लो. You have to put these two factors here, biological and cultural. Here it is cultural. And how do you depict a co-evolution? So again, it's something like this. As I told you, you can put cooking hypothesis here. Both reinforcing each other. One evolution kickstarting the other, accelerating the other. This is the basic thing, no doubt. Cultural factors picked up later. Cultural factors, again, accelerated biological factors like brain size expansion. And lactose lactose intolerance. Lactose intolerance is also one example. You know how that lactose intolerance has come in, if you open Ember and Ember, first page, previous edition. Now, I don't know whether this edition, and one example they said is, children in North American schools were given midday meal program. They have given some milk and all to Negro children and Chinese children along with Caucasoid or English children. Whereas English children have easily digested them, the Negro children and Chinese children develop vomitings, diarrhea, motions, all that because they had lactose intolerance in their body. So after teenage, slowly, the body does not secrete lactase, an enzyme required to digest milk. Why so? Because in evolution, again, only some populations have developed or continued to secrete in their bodies, continue to secrete lactase because they had been the earliest agriculturists. They had domesticated animals very first. Europeans, Asians. We can drink milk tea, we can gulp like loads of that, but a Chinese fellow cannot drink. He takes Chinese tea. Chinese tea means something like a herbal tea. If you put milk in it, it develops vomitings on the spot, it develops cramps. Their bodies do not release or secrete lactase. So lactase is a cultural thing. When we got used to drinking milk and domestication of animals, then agriculture, then we started taking their milk for protein instead of butchering them and eating like hunter and gatherer communities. We have developed that lactose tolerance now. That is a beauty. This is coevolution, another example. Next. Mouse, this one. Yeah, beauty. Thanks. Now, I have already discussed in the primates, smell as a signal among the non-human primates. Very clearly, it said non-human. In humans, we do have smell, but our smell as a signal, don't go and smell our partners before all this courtship, before sexual intercourse. Do not scout the territory with our noses. We have moved long back in the evolutionary line. So only non-human primates have this, like as I told you, lower level, lemurs, lorises, bush babies, galagos, indris, and ayais. Okay, so I've already discussed. Next is discuss different forms of primate social organization. And primates do have have got a slightly complex social organization. They have something like dominance hierarchy, they have monogamy, they have polygamy. You'll be like, they're not married, by the way. They may have mated pairs. They have something like a harem. One male is maintaining so many females. So, some females incite, INCIT, they instigate some younger males to go and attack the older male who is a dominating male. Among the gorillas, they have a very strong and very sturdy, tall gorilla called the silverback. That fellow leads the pack. Okay, so that is dominance, hierarchy. Hierarchy. We talk about social stratification paper 2, caste system. So in that, they also have a hierarchy. I am the man, I'm the alpha male. You have seen in animal movie. Alpha male, I don't know, beta male, who has got this? Alpha male is the one who dominates the other males. He also dominates other females. So they do have this social cement. They come and smell each other. They take support. They do this grooming. Claws are used for grooming. They have social cement, social bonding. They move in groups called troops, TROUPS. Troops mein jate hain because so that they can hunt better. Children are protected under troops. Children or child, chimpanzees, gorillas, etc., learn a lot from the group. They know how to play, how to learn the behavior, and slowly this kind of development happens of the infants. Infant dependency is a good amount of infant dependency we see in that. A group takes care of the infants. There is a hypothesis given by a scholar called uh, Barbara Harris. You can write down the spelling. Barbara, B-A-R-B-A-R-A, Barbara, Hyrs. Barbara Hirsch. And this lady has talked about something called as alloparenting, ALLO-PARENTING, alloparenting. What is alloparenting? She has studied some primates, some chimpanzees and gorillas, and has seen that the children are taken care of not only by the mothers, but also the nearby other group members. That is called how she started wondering how these humans have evolved to certain extent. Our evolution has answers in that co-parenting or allo-parenting. So these kinds of ideas have come into picture in the primate social organization. It's a complex thing. The key scholars are Jane Goodall, a very famous British lady who has spent the entire life of hers, almost nearly 3-4 decades in the study of these chimpanzees in Africa. There was another lady called, I'm not just getting her name, I'll just over a period of time. This lady was actually killed, because she was trying to conserve these mountain gorillas. She studied mountain gorillas, whereas Jane Goodall has studied the chimpanzees. So all these scholars have contributed to the knowledge on our social organization among the primates, especially non-human primates. You can also write one, because we are also primates, 1 or 2 lines on humans and close the answer. The losses and gains of erect posture I've already discussed. Losses, what are the losses? We actually develop a lot of back pain, neck pain and back pain. Yesterday I was talking to my one of my doctors. I had developed some back pain. I've gone to him. He said, "What do you teach?" I said, I teach anthropology. He said, "Do you know why we developed that?" Because of the bipedalism. I was shocked that this doctor has got anthropological knowledge. Very rarely some people speak like this. You develop back pain, neck pain, and all that because of our curvature, S-shaped spinal cord. We have 2 natural curves. One is the one which is, this one, the thoracic, as well as the lower one, sacral one, because we are couched in this C-shaped in our mother's womb. So when the baby tries to stand up, it starts straightening its neck. These are secondary curves, this one and this one. So secondary curves develop when the baby is crawling and trying to stand up. So we see the beauty, how nature has ensured that only human infants stand erect, and whereas other animals do not, because it has gone into the gene level. That is, I was talking about microevolution. See how many things are connecting. And in this kind of evolution of bipedalism and erect posture, we have developed these losses. What are the gains? In fact, we have our ancestors developed in Africa. In the savannas, the hot sun, equatorial sun is beating down on the back. If you are something like a tabletop, your back will be receiving maximum amount of heat, and you'll be losing out, and you'll be developing sunstrokes and dehydration. So one of the reasons is we have to stand erect. By standing erect, we have got prehensility of the arms or forelimbs. When we started developing stone tools, we started carrying food, we started carrying the infants. Even that mother hypothesis, that is, the infants are carried by the mother because of bipedalism and erect posture. These are the gains of erect posture. If you write this many, that will be more than enough. Premature birth happens because of so many factors. Poor growth, intrauterine growth retardation, IUGR.
So it's better not to code in the answer.
Better not to?
Code in the answer as a loss. Operate codes.
Actually, see, the examiner, see, you have got a very good question. Every time, don't go by the exact word. Is not saying that we have lost something. No, there is something like a disadvantage and advantage. Some kind of, see, nothing is 100% perfect. Even bipedalism is not a 100% solution. Though we can claim we are the only biped animals on the planet, and we have developed extraordinarily, socially, culturally, wonderful. But how long I can stand and give this lecture? My feet will be aching. I will develop this. See, many of the women these days are developing, some of the men folk also, this plantar fasciitis. And there is something like flat foot. So if the body becomes obese, then this again problems become more. Here, if you develop a paunch here, low back pain, neck pain, what exactly? There's some people develop vertigo, spondylosis. These are the indirect impacts of bipedalism. You can put them in the account, credit, debit, something like credit balance, debit balance. In the debit side, you write this, credit side, you write all the gains of erect posture. I've already told you. Okay, so Jane Goodall, I've mentioned. Another lady, I forgot that name, Diane Fossey. Diane, Diane Fossey. Young lady, about 37, 40-year-old. She was killed by the smugglers, what you call them, the hunters and poachers in Africa. because she was trying to protect the mountain gorillas from being poached and hunted. Now, guys, by this time, we might have observed, we have spent nearly about 1 hour or so, how much integrated the discipline is. If you really hit on this, you start falling in love with your optional once again. You have chosen anthropology maybe because of your friend's recommendation, because it is easy, it is scoring interesting. But if you really enter into the depth of the matter, you start again, you develop wow, what a kind of a subject is this? Something like, I give one example to my students. So I ask them a question. Where do you actually enjoy if you are a swimmer? In the shallow waters or deep waters? If you know swimming, at least for maybe 6 months or 1 year of training, not like years together, not a beginner, you will enjoy in the depth because you don't want to come out, because there is no force there. In the same way, anthropology is such a subject, such an integrated discipline of humanity, that if you connect all these dots, it makes a fantastic story. It leaves a kaleidoscope in your journey. You will never regret. And what else? Jane Goodall already I've covered here. She has studied them very detailedly. She has seen that this primate behavior is as good as humans. One classic example she gives is, there are so many dimensions. I'm not going to talk about entire thing, but what are the standing out ideas? She observed in one of her study that certain young chimpanzees, when they go out of that group, correct, there is always some conflict between the dominant male and that alpha male and the other males, because only for females they fight and food and other dimensions. When these young chimpanzees get fed up with this dominant male, they decide to leave that place and go and settle down and search for a new territory. You know what happens? This alpha male keeps quiet. He waits for some opportune moment. He visits them in the nights and goes and kills them and comes back. You'll be like surprised, what kind of behavior is this? Probably this is also one of the, I'm not saying 100%, one or two ideas as to how our ancestors might have evolved. You see, hierarchy has come into the society, human society. It has not just come just like that. Because of all these primatology studies done by, our primate studies done by people like Jane Goodall. Okay, and one more thing, various locomotion patterns. What are the locomotion patterns among non-human primates? Why every time they're asking non-human, non-human? Because for human, 1.6 onwards, entire thing is ours. Only in 1.4, 1.2, in 1.5, much of the discussion will be around non-human primates. What are the different patterns of locomotion, quadrupedalism, brachiation, knuckle walking, right? Then in prosimians, the earliest humans, there is there is one animal called tarsier. There are tarsiers. You can see them in East and Southeast Asia. The tarsiers have long tarsals, lower limb. The hind limb has got, అంటే మన వేళ్ళు అంటాం కదా, ఉంగ్లియం. Those fingers, or what you call this digits are called tarsal. They are made up of tarsal bones. They have very, very long tarsal bones. That's the reason these animals are given the name tarsiers. Tarsiers have a very typical movement called vertical clinging and leaping. Vertically, they cling on to a big branch of a tree or a trunk of a tree. They just sit like this, and when the opportune moment comes, they just spring and jump and hold on to another branch or tree. They push the substratum with the back legs or hind limbs. Those tarsal bones will help that to give that thrust. So tarsiers have this vertical clinging and leaping moment, vertical clinging and leaping or jumping. Then brachiation, there are several types of brachiation seen in old world monkeys and new world monkeys. What are old world monkeys, new world monkeys? It's a detailed one again. So what is new world? New world means Americas and Australia, North America, South America, Australia. So wherever monkeys and these prosimians develop, that is called New World brachiation. So wherever these animals developed in the old world, what is old world? Europe, Africa, and Asia, which are connected in a single journey route. So those are old world monkeys, and they have a special type of locomotion, knuckle walking. All these are different types of locomotion patterns, and you will get almost nearly full marks if you write all this. Expected questions, more or less, they'll be as I told you. I'll be talking about them more in the coming days. But at the moment, you can think of a locomotion called bipedalism. Very, very hot and regular question, interesting question for examiner is bipedalism. Why we are bipeds? What are the advantages of bipedalism? Bipedalism and erect posture. Many times these questions have been asked. And how erect, what are the skeletal modifications that have happened, and musculoskeletal changes, mostly skeletal changes that have happened in the hominid evolution. That means from apes to humans, how we have evolved, how from top to bottom, what kind of changes that have happened, which helped us attain erect posture and bipedalism. So these questions are very, very regularly asked. So you can expect questions from that. And these days, they are last, as I told you, 5-6 years, they are asking about primate behavior. And earlier, they were only interested in top to bottom skeletal modifications. Now they are also throwing some light on behavior and social organization. Why? Because, as I told you, more and more studies and theories have been coming up since the last 3-4 decades. And all these kinds of the hypothesis, smell hypothesis, and alloparenting hypothesis. And I'll be sharing with you guys, if possible, through our Telegram channel or through some medium, all the kind of different theories and thinkers and case studies and hypotheses that will be handy for your exam. Now coming to the next chapter, 1.6. Phylogenetic position, characteristic features, and distribution of the following Pleo-Pleistocene hominids in South and East Asia. Right from, you should be knowing these two words compulsorily, Pliocene, Pleistocene. Earlier, when we talked about primates, our discussion starts with Paleocene, Eocene, Oligocene, Miocene, Pliocene, and Pleistocene. And here we are only interested in up to Pleistocene, because when we come to Holocene, that is geological recent, from 10,000 years onwards, we will enter into archaeology. Most of our archaeology discussion happens, at least half of the archaeology discussion happens from the Mesolithic in the our knowledge of the Holocene. But here we are interested in Pleo-Pleistocene, between 5 million years to nearly 2 million years ago, or end of the Pleistocene. That is 10,000 years. Till 10,000 years, it was Pleistocene. Starting of Pliocene happened at about 5 million years ago. So most of our ancestors have taken shape, starting with Africa in the Pleo-Pleistocene, combined period of about 5 million years, 50 lakh years. So various forms have developed in Asia, Europe, and Africa. So you know these names. And many students come to me and ask, sir, how to remember this? That's a very big thing. Later we'll talk about them. But presently we'll focus on the questions. You can just have a closer look at that. The very first question, something like a bouncer, it has come in 2025, but it's not really bouncer, if you know the idea. You know what is the idea? What is mitochondrial DNA doing in human evolution ancestors? It is out of Africa theory. There are two theories which debated about the origin and dispersal of Homo sapiens. I'm not talking about all the other Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus. We are not talking about them. First question is about out of Africa theory or single origin theory, which said our ancestors, Homo sapiens ancestors have begun their journey after fully evolved in Africa. Just listen carefully. Out of Africa theory says our ancestors who, like Homo sapiens ancestors, have fully developed or evolved in Africa, then started moving out of Africa. They have dispersed into Europe, they have dispersed into Asia, and slowly outsmarted the local populations, completely decimating the local populations. And that's the reason wherever you go in the world, there are only Homo sapiens, Homo sapiens, Homo sapiens. There is no Neanderthal man. There is no, all these are extinct humans. You see, you have seen that chapter heading, no? Australopithecines, will you find any Australopithecines today? No. No Homo habilis, no erectus, no Homo heidelbergensis, no Java man, no Peking man, and neither Rhodesian man. Even Cro-Magnon, Grimaldi, and Chancelid are Homo sapiens, extinct species. Then why not Neanderthal men are existing in the population today? So these kinds of questions are now in the last 4 or 5 years, examiner is thinking like this. Examiner is not interested in what are the skeletal things, how brain size evolved. Those questions are passé. PASSE means they are gone. They're long back they used to ask. But you should definitely have them as a base. Basics I told you. We first see the theme of the question, basic of the topic, theme of the topic, concept of the topic, application of the concept, application of the topic, thinker, case study, examples. This is how you should even learn in the class or make notes. And it's not a very mountain Herculean task. It can be done. I will train you guys if you just give me some time. Maybe in the coming days. At the moment, I don't know whether it is wiser or not. Coming to this, one question which has been regularly being raised by this is mitochondrial DNA. What is mitochondrial DNA? You know DNA? Everybody knows DNA. Deoxyribose nucleic acid, the molecule of life, the language of life. Some people call it master molecule, mother molecule. Everybody knows it. What is a gene? If I ask, see, whether you treat it as a basic class, lecture, I don't mind. But I'm very, very serious about the thing which you write in the exam. If you want to write brilliant answers, okay, you should be having this much base and questioning. So, kya ho raha idhar? So, mitochondrial DNA are a set of DNA having 37 genes in the mitochondria of our human beings. They are present in both males and females, but are passed on only to the males in the female line. From female to female, it goes on. You can also say, sir, how it's not possible? How can not a man inherit the mitochondrial DNA from his mother? Yes, he inherits. We also have mitochondrial DNA. But if you mate with another woman, I mean, I'm just very frank because in anthropology, we have to talk about sex and sexual reproduction very regularly. We cannot be shy and all like, okay? If a man is mating with a woman, whether mating or marriage, during the sexual reproduction, the mitochondrial DNA of the man are destroyed completely. Only the female mitochondrial DNA is alive. That mitochondrial DNA from the mother is passed on to the both daughter and son. Again, the son fellow, when he is sexually reproducing, his mitochondrial DNA are destroyed in the sexual intercourse or during the fertilization of the zygote. So, mitochondrial DNA, if you want to take it as a link, you can go in the mother line, my daughter, mother, grandmother, uska mother. So like this, some beautiful goosebump thing happened in the recent times. There was a lady called Rebecca Cann, REBECCA, Rebecca, CANN, Cann, Rebecca Cann. I repeat the spelling again, REBECCA, Rebecca, C capital A, small n, small n. Rebecca Cann has studied this and she has said there was one, of course, many other scholars have done, but this lady has occupied the limelight. She said there is one lady called mitochondrial Eve in Africa, who lived at about 2 to 3 lakh years ago, which proves that humans have radiated out of Africa at about the same time, 2 lakh to 3 lakh years ago. Homo sapiens have completely evolved in Africa, originated and evolved in Africa, and they have colonized the different parts of the world. When they have gone to the different parts of the world like Europe and Asia, they have completely decimated the local populations through better technology. They, of course, they have mated with the local populations. For example, Neanderthals, Denisovans. Neanderthals lived in Europe. Denisovans lived in Altai mountains in Siberia. And only these two, three local populations were, they also entered into this matings with them. And most of the times they have mated with them at a very little thing. So Neanderthal genes is only present in today's human population to the extent of 1 to 4% only. If you see our non-African population, that is Europe and Asia, like in you and me also in Europe also, if you take out the DNA sample, check for Neanderthal genes, you will find only 1 to 4%. It should have been 50-50, no, or 40-60, no. So that means long back, our ancestors have originated in Africa. They have gone settled in Europe and Asia. They have outsmarted the local populations, but definitely mated with local women, females. So some of their genes have come in us, but ultimately, out of Africa model proves this. So this is very, very important. This is there in 9.2 also, extra nuclear inheritance. It's called extra nuclear. What is extra nuclear? Anything out of the nucleus. If you know physical anthropology like this, you can mint marks in paper 1. Physical anthropology is the most dreaded one to many students, physical or biological, because of these reasons. If you have these linkages, as I told you, it is there in 1.6, it is there in 9.2. 9.2, Mendelian, non-Mendelian, all that. Next, osteodontokertic culture and its makers. This term has been used by Dr. Raymond Dart, first person to have talked about the linkage between humans and apes. I told you earlier, many scholars, after reading Origin of Species, you remember, just now I told you. Huh? Out of earlier, I have mentioned about Origin of Species, 1859. After the publication of Origins of Species by Darwin, many physicians, doctors, many paleoanthropologists have made a beeline to Africa and Asia to hunt for the missing link, because this man pointed out, Darwin has pointed out, go look and find in Africa, you will find that missing link. Because he was arguing with the church people in England. England church people are saying man has been created specially by God in 4 days. On the 5th day, man has been created, or 4th day or 5th day. When Darwin said, no, I have got so many evidences, geological, paleontological, all that variation, I have traveled the world. So nobody agreed. But this man, when he published that book, he became popular overnight. And Raymond Dart is born in Australia. He settled in South Africa. He was very much sure that he will find one missing link one day. And last year, 2023 or 24, they have asked about Tong baby, Tong child, Taung, Tong. So it is there in the Cape of South Africa. There is a place called Tong. In the cave mines, I think limestone mines or quarries, the workers bring a small kind of, this much sample, and he painstakingly opens that, and he finds a small skull of a baby of 3-year-old. That is nothing but Australopithecus africanus. He names that small skull as belonging to a Tong baby. Who is this man? Dr. Raymond Dart. And after doing research in Africa, he also finds some kind of, roughened tools and all. And he also finds some bones which are sharpened. So he comes to an understanding that, okay, there are the people, called, that species called Australopithecus africanus, also is the first cultural animal. That fellow had culture. What do you mean by culture? Australopithecus africanus made tools, bone tools, stone tools. Osteo means bone, donto means teeth, keratic means horn, bone, teeth. Of course, stone tools were not so confirmed, but these tools were certainly there, he says. But this was not so strongly approved of by other people. But this language has taken track. Like this, many ideas have been asked earlier. And its makers, who are the makers? Africanus. According to whom? And is this theory accepted? No. Criticism? No. Consult. Simple answer. Same structure, more or less, you follow for all the answers. Discuss the geographical distribution of Homo erectus taking into account. Straight question. इसमें कुछ बड़ी बात नहीं है. Geographical distribution, where exactly this fellow originated? About 1 million years ago in Africa, after having evolved from habilis. Either you call habilis, because in our syllabus habilis is not mentioned. In our syllabus Paranthropos is mentioned. So no doubt erectus has developed in Africa. There is Noriocotom boy there in Lake Turkana or Turkana boy. There was a boy skeleton found in Lake Turkana, South Africa, sorry, East Africa. So those were examples of erectus in Africa. There was another specimen called H. ergaster, H. ergaster. Please write down these two names. Sorry. Homo erectus, the Turkana boy, or this Nariocotom boy. Nario. Nariokotom, Nariocotom boy, or and another one, Turkana, Lake Turkana. There is a place called Lake Turkana in East Africa. So Turkana boy. Later scholars have named the African specimen of erectus as ergaster, Ergaster. So that means Africa is the origin of erectus. What is erectus as the name? Who gave this name? Again, there is a big story. See, you should know the story first. Maybe by this time you have realized the interaction that we are having is not something like academic that I have some idea I'm giving you. No, it's absolutely about our story, who we are, what it means to be human. So we are trying to understand our roots, as simple as that. We are reading our story again. Anthropology is nothing but we are reading our story again and again with wonderful insights and examples from the world. The beautiful story takes us back to 1891, when there was a man called, this man's name is Dr. Eugene Dubois. How they pronounce is Dubois, they pronounce. Eugene, E-U-G-E-N-E. E-U-G-E-N-E, Eugene Dubois, D-U-B-O-I-S. This man is a physician, Dutch, he settled in Dutch East Indies. In Dutch East Indies, when he was working, he was also like Raymond Dart, inspired by Darwin. He was on the hunt for that missing link. He was very much confident that it has to be Asia that is the origin of man. So he was looking for that missing link between apes and humans. So he finds a skull cap and a bone, femur, which, because he's a doctor, he started linking that and saw, oh, these are, the skull cap size is more than 1100 cc. The femur is looking like human femur. So he named it, that fellow, as Pithecanthropus erectus. Pithecanthropus. Ape, monkey man or ape man who stood erect. What is the meaning of Pithecanthropus erectus? Ape man who studied erect. Because the femur, I told you earlier, top to bottom bipedalism. When you see the femur clearly shows today's human femur. That femur, human femur, if you put side by side and look, oh, this fellow stood erect. So he named it as Pithecanthropus erectus. Later, Dr. David G. Blackson has named it as Homo erectus. And some people called it as Java man because it was found in Java. So from then on, there was another finding in, in China, in Zucudia cave. Then they named it as Peking man, China man, Peking man. Later, Homo heidelbergensis in Europe, slight variant of erectus. They also found Georgicus, Homo georgicus in Georgia. In India, they thought initially there was a man called Arun Sonakia, geologist who worked with Geological Survey of India in 1982 or 84, yeah, in 82, 84 times. He found a skull cap, again, only one skull cap. With that, he came to understanding it's an erectus. But later findings have disproved. There was a man called Anek R. Sankhyan. Anek R. Sankhyan has disproved that no, this is not erectus. It is slightly evolved form because the skull cap is measuring more than 1200 cc. And erectus measured only about maximum is 1100 cc. Are you getting the entire logic, evolution, everything? So, if you know the physical features and how do you fit that in evolutionary line, I've just told you. Physical feature number one is always the brain size or skull cap. So that skull cap brain size is a big pointer towards our mental capacities. From top to bottom, you can easily rebuild. It's called reconstruction. Even if you know find this small skull cap, you can build the entire organism. If you find only the femur, if you know only the pelvis, it's enough. With 3D modeling, they can recreate the entire organism. They can even put face onto that fellow, give beard and hair. That is the technology we have. So, erectus is very simple. Discuss the major species of Australopithecus. Straight question, South and East Africa. Macapans got in South Africa. Then we have got so many, Sterkfontein, and so many places in East South Africa. Most of them were called as Paranthropus species because their features were robust features. But in East Africa, most were gracile forms. Gracile means very slender. They had slender jaws like afferensis. We have got anamensis, afferensis. All these are slender forms, East Africa. So discovery, who discovered them? Mostly Leakey family. East Africa, like something like patent, they have entire family has settled. Louis Leakey, Mary Leakey, their son Richard Leakey, and daughter-in-law Mauvie Leakey. All the Leakey families have settled there extraordinarily for nearly 3-4 decades, like Jane Goodall has done in Africa, spending her time, complete time with the chimpanzees. These people lived in the hot desert climate or arid climate of Tanzania and Kenya in a place called Olduvai Gorge. That was their base. In that nearby area, they have found so many kind of specimens. Homo habilis they have found. They have found erectus, later forms erectus, and even Australopithecus forms they have found. So, should we still distinguish between classic and progressive Neanderthals? Discuss the controversies surrounding Neanderthals' position in human life. So, there are two parts in the question. Whenever there are two parts in the question, your life is a bit simpler. At least one part you know. Okay? If you know, the toughest question to attempt is actually the 10 marker. Because you, first of all, even if you know the point, where to start, how to start, whether should I omit this, whether should I include this, by the time your thinking is done, the time is gone. But at least these two parts of questions are easier, slightly, comparatively. So here, the answer is, there is a question, the answer in the question itself. Many times the examiner gives you a clue. Sorry, my bad. Many a times examiner gives you a clue. What is a clue? Should you still distinguish between the classic and progressive? No, actually no. The answer is no. Because classic they used to describe because certain skeletal features or skeletal remains were found from Europe, which are more robust. There are some skeletal remains that are found from Asia, in what you call in Israel and Egypt, even in Algeria. They were having slightly slender forms. They were called advanced or what you call progressive Neanderthals. And certain specimens which are having robust features were called classic. And classic is represented by something called as La Chapelle aux Saints. LACHAPPELLE. La Chapelle aux Saints. AUXSAINTS. La Chapelle aux Saints is a place in France. There, these specimens had robust features, and many of them, in fact, the earliest finding, what is the name Neanderthal? Neander is a river name. There is a river in Dusseldorf, Germany, that is called Neander. And what is Tal? T-L. Tal means valley. So this specimen was found the first time in 1856 in Dusseldorf in a place called Neander Valley, Neanderthal. But later, La Chapelle aux Saints and all these were found. So initially, they thought these people were over-brained, sized 1600 cc, very rugged, rough, primitive. Their noses came out like this. They had heavy jaws, heavy brain size. They stooped like this. Their knees had been bent. So they have given a wrong picture. In New York Times, there came a cartoon also that Neanderthal fellows are represented a lower level of existence than. They also said they were Neanderthal man. They were very less in comparison to modern man. So later, certain finds were found in Asia, Mount Carmel, and in Algeria, Morocco. So those specimens, which belonged to about 1 or 3 lakh years ago, when they have found that, they have named it as progressive. Why? Because heavy jaw bones, heavy features are not modern human features. And even that cartoon in New York Times also, unnecessarily created a new kind of a doubt in the paleoanthropologists' minds. These new paleoanthropologists thought, oh, there must be some progressive fellows. In fact, later research have disproved all of them. Why those classic fellows were called? Because that man had arthritis. And heavy brain size is because they had got acclimatized or adapted to extreme cold climates. And the heavy jaw size, they were robust because they need to withstand the cold temperatures. And why they are called progressive? Because they were in the Asia, they got adapted to warmer climates, and the cultural progression happened fast. And in several other body features, their features compared to the modern Homo sapiens. So today, the distinction is no longer applicable. Like this, and even DNA evidences disprove that. There is only one DNA called Neanderthal DNA. There is no classic Neanderthal DNA. Neither there is no progressive Neanderthal DNA. Only one Neanderthal DNA genome. Recently, there was the man, French man, got Nobel Prize for that. You know that? Who is that man? Svante Pabo. Svante, Svante Pabo. P-A-B-O. Svante Pabo has worked on Neanderthal genome and how these people withstood those extreme kind of viral diseases, extreme temperatures, all that. So he actually developed some techniques to preserve this Neanderthal genome without getting contaminated. Because of these reasons, he got a Nobel Prize. Okay? So second part of the question, surrounding what is a controversy? As just now, as I told you, they are not inferior. They are not like, though there are different hypotheses. Pre-Neanderthal position, pre-sapiens, theory. Like that, there are several theories given. But today, pre-sapiens position is actually accepted. So Neanderthal did not contribute directly to us, but they have contributed small amount of genome to us. So today we are Homo sapiens. Before us, there were some pre-sapien species, but Neanderthal was not in the direct line of evolution. It was a branch that has got separated long back. So this is a controversy. So 1.7, as I told you, is a link between the evolutionary part and the genetics part. Only one question, 2008 it has come. This part is only, as I told you, to have theory building, base. What is a cell, DNA, replication, protein synthesis, gene, all these are very, very vital to understand evolution and genetics. Now, these are all more or less straight questions. Examiner has no other, what you call, he cannot make tricky questions here. Very interestingly. See, why can you question and try to answer that? The examiner cannot twist these questions because the topics are very straightjacket. These are all, I call this 9.1 as traditional methods of study of humans. See, human genetics concept, when did actually got new avatar? Only in the 1900 with the rediscovery of Mendel's laws. How it has become possible? There were three scholars independently, they have arrived at the same conclusion. Very interestingly, just like Hardy and Weinberg have independently arrived at that equilibrium, that right equation in 9.3 we'll discuss. In here in 1900, exactly the year 1900, three people, Correns of Germany, Schemek of Austria, and Hugo de Vries of Dutch, that is Netherlands. These three scholars independently arrived at, or they have rediscovered Mendel's laws. From then onwards, human genetics started taking shape. But earlier, before that, in the 19th century, traditional methods like pedigree analysis, twin studies, co-twin method, foster child method, all the first one, two, 3, 4. These are, you can call them as traditional methods because they started taking shape in the 19th century itself. From 20th century onwards, cytogenetic method, etc., started taking shape. In 1906, there was a man called Bateson, William Bateson, who coined the name gene. Earlier, our Mendel Sahab was using the name factor, element, and the word gene did not come. So William Bateson coined the term gene, and from then onwards, genetics started taking shape. So you see from that, then chromosomal knowledge developed in 1908, 1910, 1915. They started isolating chromosomes. Okay, chromosome, they started coloring. You know what is the meaning of chromosome? Chromo means color. So means body. The small particle that can take color. They can be stained and looked at under the microscope. Then they started checking how many pairs of chromosomes we have. Then they started analyzing. That is called karyotype. Okay, then they started linking them with a healthy karyotype and some kind of abnormal karyotype. Cri-du-Chat syndrome, right? Turner syndrome, Klinefelter syndrome, Down syndrome, Patau syndrome, all are examples of chromosomal anomalies. So this chapter and 9.4 are connected. These are only the basics of the entire genetics. Now, the same logic if you apply to other areas. For example, biochemical methods is slightly a different one. Immunological methods, DNA technology developed in 1953 after the Watson and Crick developed. They gave the nearest model, 3D model of that what you call double helical structure of DNA. Then recombinant technologies, all these developed in quick succession. Recently, there was a question, how did genetics, knowledge of science and genetics developed in the second half of 20th century? And one question they have asked. The answer is because of the unveiling of the DNA structure by Watson and Crick. So like this, friends, you have to know, if you know the basics, again, I repeat 2-3 times before I end this journey. Basics, concepts, themes, scholars, and link them, and you've got a beautiful idea before you. So you can see in this, no question is twisted. Just go through that. I'll just take a sip of water. Even in the last 6 years, there were no indirect questions. Pedigree and genealogy, small end of confusion. In this chapter, do you see any genealogy? In this, all these 5, 6 questions, you don't have genealogy. Genealogy is a method of anthropological research or fieldwork technique that you find in chapter 8. And who developed that first? W.H.R. Rivers, the British anthropologist of Cambridge University. When he has marched on to the Cambridge anthropological expedition of the Torres Straits, 1898. You remember Torres Straits expedition, W.H.R. Rivers, A.C. Haddon, and Seligman and their group of students. When they stayed there in those islands, where is Torres Strait? The islands above Australia, Papua New Guinea, Micronesia, Melanesia, all these islands, small islands, where people had black skin color, they had African features. And because they had connections in Australia as well as Africa long back. So they wanted to study them. So they went on an expedition. There, these people spent nearly 1 month time. There, W.H.R. Rivers developed this technique called genealogy. And genealogy means it's a tree, family tree. I am the informant, you are the anthropologist, you come and ask me, okay? And I start giving information to you. Who am I then? I'm an informant. You are an anthropologist or an ethnographer. Informant talks about his father, grandfather, uncles, aunts, then mother side less, because these people lived in Africa. They gave importance to Africa and Oceania. Father, grandfather, like that, Vamsha Vriksha or Vamsha Charitra or family history, family tree. That is called genealogy. Then, because we are in a genetics thing, pedigree already we know. What is pedigree analysis? Pedigree comes from a Latin word. Latin, I think, French word. It comes from a word called Pairidou. P-I-E-R-R-E, Pairi, D-O-U. Pairidou means the crane's feet. If a crane, crane, the bird crane, if it spreads its feet like this, it looks like this. Originally, the entire pedigree looked like this. If you spread the family tree like this, pedigree analysis. And in pedigree analysis, you take the help of this pedigree. Again, same kind of family history to understand the transmission of a trait or a disorder. You will try to understand how the trait is passed on from one generation to the other, whether it is dominant or it is recessive, whether it is autosomal or it is what you call sex-linked. So through that, you can actually estimate the kind of what will happen to the child, whether there is 50-50 chance or 25-75 chance or 0 chance. Based on that is done by the counselor, genetic counselor. So you have to talk about in a comparative chart both this. History already I told you. Genealogical method here. Pedigree actually has been kick-started in 19th century by a scholar called Francis Galton, the cousin of Darwin. Francis Galton. This man started this pedigree analysis initially. And karyotype, already I just told you about this karyotype. Karyotype means the chromosomal picture. What is karyotype? Karyo means something related to chromosome. How many chromosomes we have? 23 pairs. 23 from the father, 23 from the mother. And if everything is normal, we are normal karyotype. But there are abnormal karyotypes, as I told you. How does its analysis help in the diagnosis of chromosomal aberrations in man? Structural, numerical, aneuploidy, then monosomy, all that. You know this language? Yeah, perfect. Then heritability and estimation. There is a small formula how the genes will be heritable. This is applicable in twin studies. How can we understand the inheritance of certain traits and whether genes or environment are dominating. Mostly, heritability is used to understand the impact of the genes on the twins. There are two conditions, you all know. One is genes, the twins are reared together and the twins are reared apart, especially the monozygotic twins. So when new character or trait develops in a twin reared apart, another twin pair, one person in the twin pair apart, it is deemed to be due to environment. If there is a lot of matching of all this, it is tend to be, even in dizygotic twins, if they have lot of similarity in their traits, like whether they have intelligence, they have what you call that certain skills, or some traits like hypertension or anything, diabetes, that is given in, put in the account of genes. It's simple thing. Nowadays, the number of questions have come down, but we can't take it lightly. Describe the practical applications of DNA technology in the current scenario. You know, everywhere DNA technology is applicable. Forensics, sports, you have forensic analysis, paternity diagnosis, recombinant DNA technology, CRISPR-Cas9 technology, genetic engineering, so many areas. So that is great question. Pedigree analysis in genetic counseling. Same question. 2022, they have asked 25. So counseling, I told you, it will be used by the counselor. There are the person who is asked, I mean, for example, if I come to you, you're a genetic counselor, I'm a proband or probita, probitus, probita. So we can expect more or less same questions in the coming years, also in the state way. Recently, very interesting questions have been asked in okay, left one. 9.2, Mendelian genetics and man. And for this, we have to have a good, strong, sound knowledge in genetics and Mendel's laws. What exactly is Mendelian and non-Mendelian? Any trait which follows Mendelian laws is Mendelian. As simple as that. What are the simple Mendel's laws or Mendel's principles? Dominance. Then you have something called as segregation. These two are the main ones. In that, mostly they talk about dominant recessive thing only. So if a trait is Mendelian, it is also called as single factor or unifactorial. So single gene thing which can easily we understand is ABO blood groups. I'll just give you some beautiful clarity. Whenever you are writing about ABO blood groups, it's called ABO blood group system. You don't put a comma. ABO, when you write together, you imagine that you're also including AB blood group in that. It's a name of the system. ABO blood group means ABO and AB. But whenever you are trying to focus on the Mendelian trait, that means the blood groups which follow strictly Mendel's laws of dominance and recessiveness, recessive thing, they are A blood group, B blood group, O blood group only. So we put A comma B comma O, and comma AB will not come here. Why AB is not coming here? Because AB comes under non-Mendelian. Why it is non-Mendelian? Because there is co-dominance. Neither A is dominant, neither B is dominant. You have to draw a table and explain single Mendelian, single factorial, qualitative. I'll just read out some names. You'll just listen to this. What is Mendelian here? It's called unifactorial or single factor, okay, or monogenic. 3 names you can give. Unifactorial, single gene, or monogenic. First one. Second dimension, they are qualitative in nature. They are least impacted by environment. Third one, they are discrete traits. Discrete means clearly separable. If you put them in graphs, you will find 2 bar diagrams. I'm just scared of touching this, what exactly can happen. For example, if you talk about Mendelian, how Mendelian traits look. This is a bar, this is A blood group, this is B blood group. If you talk about non-Mendelian, the trait assumes a bell-shaped curve. This is qualitative, this is quantitative. This is least impacted by environment. Environment has got good impact. Next, Mendelian is not disturbed by mutation. Mutation has least impact. But non-Mendelian traits undergo impact of mutation. Like that, there are 7, 8 traits. You have to simply write 1 or 2 case studies. For example, PTC tasting, phenyl thiocarbazamide, then roller, roller, non-roller of tongue, then ABO blood groups, that is more than enough. Single gene mutation disorders in man, all the sickle cell anemia, and many things which can be easily explained. What is multifactorial trait? See, again here also it is mentioned, multi-factor. There are many factors. Opposite of that is what? Single gene. What is single gene? Mendelian. What is multifactorial? Non-Mendelian. Sometimes it is also called as polygenic. See, they are all very, very small, and very slow, very closely related. See, multi-factors. What do you mean by that? Many factors. What are the many factors? Factor word comes from the term used by Mendel. I told you earlier, Mendel did not use the word gene. He used the word factors and elementants. So, there are many genes or polygenes impacting one trait. So you have got examples like you can write so many points like motor traits like skin color. Our skin color is a multifactorial trait. Our hair color, hair texture, hair form, nose form, then stature, diabetes, hypertension. Nowadays, lot of things are discussed under epigenetics. Tomorrow, instead of all these questions, directly a question can come epigenetics. What is epigenetics? They can first year, they will, till now, they have not asked epigenetics. First year in 2026, they might start. What is epigenetics? What is its role in understanding humanity, or how it is relevant in anthropology? So epigenetics is nothing but anything about the genes, any phenomena, usually phenotype, in the phenotype, when certain traits are not impacted by what you call many other factors, genes, they are reversible. The changes that come in our body because of epigenetics are reversible. Diabetes, reversible. Obesity, reversible. Hypertension, reversible. Skin color, reversible or not? Tell me. Can be, cannot be. Because if we are living, we go to a hot place, we become darker. If we go and fly the kites in Sankranti, in our childhood, we used to get completely. Nowadays, they use this word tanned. Oh, I got a tan. It's fashion. But in our childhood, we used to completely burn out. And after 2 weeks, then we are normal. So skin color keeps changing. It is reversible. Certain epigenetics knowledge is now used in the study of diseases. So like that, all these are connected. Epigenetics is suddenly, don't think it's a surprise. They are already there in multifactorial or polygenetic traits. Lethal, sublethal, all they already there. Straight, see, whatever there is in the syllabus, that they have come. Direct questions. Lethal, the possessor of the genes of lethal genes will be dead. Lethal means deadly. They'll die either in the mother's womb as aborted. There are 2 types of abortions: spontaneous abortions, induced abortions. Spontaneous, without giving any drug, if the baby is aborted, then that's called spontaneous. Because of this problem, lethal genes in that baby or infant, inside, what you call that? Not infant, fetus. the fetus is undelivered or dead inside the mother's womb or aborted prematurely or somewhat, then that may be due to because of lethal genes. There is that may be chromosomal aberration or severe negative mutations, and the head is not formed or some body parts are not formed. Heart में बहुत बड़ा छेद है, hole है. So that is one stage. After the delivery, that is neonates. Certain babies, that neonates within 1 month, it is called neonate. That neonate may be dead in the hospital or in the home because of the lethal genes it possesses. Or after some time, the baby or that neonate becomes an infant up to the age of 1 or 2 years. It's called infants, a crawling baby. That infant may also die because of these genes. So these are called lethal genes. And something, the classic example is your Credushat syndrome, Patau syndrome, Edwards syndrome. Most of the autosomal aberrations result in the death of the individual. So sex chromosomal aberrations are usually not lethal. They give the possessor of the gene the life of up to about, they live up to the adulthood, 15 years, 20 years, 30, 40 years also. Down syndrome children. They go to school, they live, but they cannot reproduce. They have some kind of IQ problems. All this will be there. So they are semi-lethal, sub-lethal. They are not deadly initially, but they might contribute to some other fact. Because of some other factors, they will be dead. Sickle cell anemia. Sickle cell, again, it is semi-lethal. But again, of methods like chorionic villi sampling, amniocentesis, all this, then they come up with some results. So that is very interesting. These are all straight questions. One question, as I told you, genetic imprinting. Again, this has been not asked for many years. Genetic imprinting was not asked in many years, but suddenly it was a surprise in what exactly is genetic imprinting or genome imprinting. There is something like a stamp. Okay, this is slightly what Mendel said. This will take back us to Mendel's laws. What Mendel has said, traits get expressed and transmitted and expressed irrespective of the sex of the parents. Whether the trait comes from the father or the mother or the male or the female, the trait gets expressed equally. It's called law of equivalence. But later scholars have actually attributed, but he did not say, that law of equivalence was found to be not applicable in certain traits or disorders like Prader-Willi syndrome and Angelman syndrome or Angelman syndrome. Prader-Willi syndrome comes from the father, and the slight different variant is called Angelman syndrome. And if it is coming from the mother, you can easily make out. You can easily catch it and say it has come from the mother. Why? Because there is a heavy dose of methylation. If you add a methyl group to a particular gene, that is called methylation, DNA methylation. So in Angelman syndrome, because it comes from the female or the mother, there is a good amount of methylation that is not seen in the genes coming from the father. So that means there is a clear going away of the law of equivalence said by or attributed to Mendel by the later scholars. Here, the simple understanding is there is definitely imprinting, genome imprinting or gene imprinting. That's a simple topic. Next, chromosomal aberration. This is the one I said. Slightly tricky, not much difficult. Yes, body as well as mind are being played havoc with by these chromosomal abnormalities. Why so? Because these chromosomal aberrations. For example, if you take numerical chromosomal aberrations like Turner syndrome, X45X, there is a lack of a second X chromosome in the female. The female appears short. That is, the female is very having a problem in the aorta, poorly developed breasts and genitals, and there are some lesions on the skin. Bodily, there are deformities. The female can die in about 15 years or 20 years because of the constriction of the aorta in the heart. And facial features are also not, it's common, they are slightly different. There is impotency, or in the sense infertility, the female cannot reproduce. The intelligence quotient is very less. There is some kind of, I can say, mental retardation, not much, slight mental retardation, IQ levels drop. In the males, if there is a Y chromosome, extra X chromosome, actually male composition is 46XY, normal karyotype. If the karyotype has 46XXY, again, it's called trisomy, an extra chromosome, one extra X chromosome in the karyotype. That fellow is taller. Again, the body hair is very less. Even breast development slightly, like gynecomastia, and there are sometimes cubitus valgus. The female, like, it's called cubitus valgus, and they develop other problems in the body. They are also infertile. They cannot reproduce. There is slight mental retardation. Down syndrome. Again, these are all numeric. These are numerical. In numerical, again, these are about sex chromosomal, X and Y. In autosome, Down syndrome, Patau syndrome, Edward syndrome. Down syndrome, I put a small formula, PED, PED, Patau syndrome, 13. Edward syndrome, chromosome number 18. Down syndrome, chromosome 21. Trisomy 13, trisomy 18, trisomy 21. This is a simple language. So the possessor of these chromosomes will have extra chromosome in them. That is also not welcome. They have more chances of dying. Even in the childhood itself, within 2-3 years or 5 years, the child dies. So another dimension of that is deletional, structural aberration, deletional thing like 5p dash. In the short arm of the chromosome, a part of the chromosome is missing. Some DNA are gone. So that is deletional aberration. So one classic example is Cri-du-Chat syndrome or cat-like cry syndrome. The child, when initial first 1-2 years, the infant, when it is crying, the crying looks like a cat-like, as if the cat is moving. Okay, Billy, ante pilli edusthe etla untadu, something like that is, if the doctor and the parents are focused on that, then the child can be done, something can be done to the child. If that is missed by the parents and the nurses and the doctors, then the child can develop extreme problems and the child may die very soon. So the body is also affected, mind is also affected, mental retardation, so many problems will come. Otherwise, same thing, how many numerical aberrations in sex chromosomes lead to genetic disorders. You know what is the primary principle in all this? Primary non-disjunction during the meiosis, when the sex cells, during especially the fertilization, the sperm sends 2 chromosomes, here the ova, and when they fertilize, a zygote has to form 4, again they have to divide. While dividing, there is non-disjunction. One chromosome with that 4, it is not dividing into 2 and 2. One will get 3, the other gets 1. 3 and 1, that will become non-disjunction. So many things, actually slightly technical, you can actually explain, and straight questions only you can expect here. Nowadays, there are questions on your genome, gene mapping and genome study. There was a recent question on genome-wise association studies. So you should be knowing cautious on this genome. They might ask it in 15 marker or 20 marker. Genome-wise association studies. They try to associate diseases genome-wise. Your genome, your family member's genome, your community genome. What is genome? Collection of all the genes, all the DNA. How many genes we have, by the way? How many base pairs we have? 3 billion base pairs. What are bases? Nitrogenous bases. Where are nitrogenous bases present? In the DNA. So like that, nucleotide pairs or the DNA chains, they have something like about 20 to 25,000 genes. In the entire genome of 3 billion base pairs, our genes are only 20 to 25,000. The functional DNA is called genes. A functional segment of a DNA is a gene. That is called coding DNA also. So you should know this basic language of the genome. Okay? So every time, if possible, develop a glossary. Don't mind. I'm being very straight. You may be saying, sir, abhi to exam sar par hai. Everything is like looking very this thing. No, whenever you're preparing, tomorrow also, no doubt, you take a glossary, basics, do homework on that. Keywords, focus on the keywords. At least you can write something and come. Don't worry about case studies, thinker, unnecessarily these days. Students without the basics, without the concepts are trying to burden themselves with these thinkers and case studies. Okay, it's a misfit. You are unnecessarily trying, it's something like a FOMO. You are worrying about something which is non-existent. What is existent aapke samne kya hai? But basics. Today, everything you can get in the internet, in your chat GPT or what you call Gemini. You have to raise the pertinent questions, correct questions, and come up with solutions. Even though we'll definitely get doubts. Come to us, we'll solve us. Take test series, mentorship, take classes. People who are self-preparing, for them also it's a big message. Especially in physical anthropology, you'll be like struggling, I'm telling you, if you don't know these basics. And many students, as earlier one example I told you, they don't know what is mitochondrial DNA. They don't know what is extranuclear inheritance. So all these are like, examiner is evolving. Examiner questions are evolving. In the last 5-6 years, they are becoming more integrated, more what you call interlinkages between one, as I've showed to you, one chapter, second chapter, third chapter. One example I'll tell you, fetal origin of adult diseases, and David Barker, 2025 they've asked. It comes in 9.7, 9.8, chapter 10. 9.7, ecological anthropology. How, what is exactly the idea? It is based on a couple of ideas. Thrifty genotype, thrifty phenotype. Thrifty genotype. Long back, because we spent our almost till 90, almost 95 or 99% of our evolution, we were hunter-gatherers. Only 10,000 years back, we have invented agriculture, correct? Or 12,000 years ago. Itna bada journey mein, like almost 4 to 5 lakh, 50 lakh years, and you're only talking about 10,000 years. What was our lifestyle? It was completely hunting and gathering. So, is food assured every day? No. Every day was a struggle. Every day was a struggle. So, whenever food became available, according to this thrifty genotypes theory, whenever food was available, approximately, I'm just giving an idea, roughly 50%, the body used to store in the form of glycogen. Liver gets activated. It says, beta, food nahi milne wala hai, you just store. And when you go into the dry days, during famine and droughts, I will release the food. You will survive. But after agriculture got invented, we started getting surplus. We invented pottery. We started digging storage pits inside, and people got assurance of the food. Will genes just switch off? No, the genes are switched on. When you consume food, अच्छा सा मिल रहा है, देखो पेट आगे आते जा रहा है, and you're piling up food, your glycogen is still stored. There is no mechanism to switch off that easily. So there is a genotype inside the genes, inside the body. Thrifty means thoda kanjusi karo, some saving. It's saving action. So what happens? There is another theory called thrifty phenotype. David Barker and others have been associated with that. I'm not getting the other thinker name. Eileen, I thought kuch aata hai iska. These people said, even if a child because of less food availability grows retarded, there is something called intrauterine growth retardation, IUGR. The child is born like the stature is very less because mother herself is having very lean body, stunting, wasting, and underweight. Okay, in all these categories, what is exactly the child born as? The child is also stunted, wasted, and underweight. Example, take for example our tribal children. And there is a beautiful concept. Nature has got even solution for this. There is something called as catch-up growth phase. What is a catch-up growth phase? In that, within 3 years, if you can good, if you, of course, first 6 months to 1 year, the mother's milk is given, the breastfeeding is given completely to the child. The child's original immunity and all, it stays strong. There is a gap of next to 3 years, 2 to 3 years, that is called when you are weaning away the child from the mother's milk. It's called weaning period, WEANING. So some food is given to that and good nutritious food is given, balanced diet to the child. The child can slightly pick up compared to the children, compared to the parents. The child can slightly become better. Okay. But after a certain period, after 3 years, even if you put that fellow, every day you feed that fellow, the child will not grow taller and handsome and acha bodybuilder, nahi ban payega. The obesity and all develop, he develops diabetes and other problems, and the fellow will die. So extreme things have happened in the human evolution. So this is a clue for that. So this has come in ecological anthropology because in Himalayan extreme climates like in Siberia, Eskimo, they grow shorter, stouter bodies. Their gene level, interaction that happens with the environment, all that is responsible for their stature as well as their bodies. Okay, that is adaptation at the gene level in 9.7 ecological anthropology. In 9.8 epidemiological anthropology, non-communicable diseases, NCDs, like hypertension, diabetes, CVDs, thyroid, and many other things which are lifestyle diseases. Cancer is the biggest monster in that. 21st century's monster, our naam lakho, to cancer yoga. First place goes to, the award goes to cancer because the continuous inflammation in the body, because you are consuming everything under the sun, you are not giving gap. Exercise come ho gaya, stress zyada ho gaya, epigenetics. I told you they are reversible. But people go on eating cola, sweets, burgers, outside food, unprocessed food in the fridges and in the cans. So what is happening? A lot of lifestyle diseases are coming. Lack of exercise, sedentary lifestyle, sitting in the couch potatoes, watching movies, series and series. In the night, waking up. So many things are there. Actually, I can share, but this time period is very less. There are two pairs of people I'll talk about. One is dopamine, the other is cortisol. In the evening, some 7 o'clock, dopamine starts kicking up. By 10 o'clock, it is at peak. We should sleep then. In the morning, by 6 to 7, dopamine comes down. Cortisol picks up. But when we are sleeping in the night, eating in the night, midnight biryani, you order Coca-Cola, burger, pizza, midnight biryani. Dopamine is confused. Cortisol is confused. Obesity increases. When you wake up long in the night, there are two again pairs, I told you, pairs of hormones, ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is a hunger hormone. Leptin is a complete stomach full hormone. A signal deta hai, okay, stomach is full, you stop eating. But if you go stressed and wake up through the nights for years together, your body is confused. Ghrelin keeps on getting produced. You eat and become obese. Leptin says, so ghrelin, you काम कर रहा है, तो मैं आराम करता हूँ. I will not secrete. Both should be balanced. If you sleep on time and get up on time, ghrelin is reduced. Both are in the balance. Leptin is also in the balance. So much research is going on, my dear friends. All this research will be reflecting in your questions. What is the main meaning of my or intention of my sharing all this? Your knowledge should be updated. And recently also they've asked about lifestyle disease in 9.8. I don't have much time to go into all this, so we will close the session in very short time. If any questions are uncovered, I'll maybe in the next session I'll take up. Okay, so it's not about my knowledge sharing. Again, I'm telling you, it's about helping you guys If you got doubts on any concept or any idea, please shoot your queries in the comment section, and I'll be glad to help you. Okay. So like this, questions are coming. Again, to sum up, the word vocabulary is changing. The questions are evolving. They are becoming more integrated. The subject is only this much. If you know all the basic things and linkages, you need not worry about your performance. Writing, if you only take test series and mentorship, then only we can tell you how you write and how many marks you will get. If you don't write and simply are just listening and reading, revising it, it may help in the short run, but not in the long run. Okay, stay blessed, happy, and all the best to you. I'll call it a session. Thank you.